running from the bad guy. I'ma stare him in the eye like, what's up?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to day 8 and the first actual full week of my 365-day challenge. If I sound a little stuffy, you guys, I am a little sick. The kids got me sick, but I'm still showing up. You might have seen me with little tissues. And sorry, I promise I'm not trying to give anybody my cooties. Okay, I just want to keep my word, show up no matter what. That's what healing looks like. So today is day 8 of my challenge, and I first want to start. Guys always know I start with a trigger warning. So, excuse me. Well, actually, this one goes a little backwards. So I just want to welcome you to day 8 of my story. I created this as a platform of my own healing. Um, you already know that's like all the previous days before. I will be sharing personal part from my story, from my past, and I will express how that affected me, how it shaped how I lived for a very long time. But before we begin, I would like to read my now trigger warning. Sorry. Today's story contains mentions of emotional abuse, religious and cultural manipulation, depression, suicidal ideation, and public shaming within the spiritual community. Please take care of yourself and your emotional well being while listening or reading. If this topic is too heavy for you right now, it's okay to skip today and come back when you're safer or when you're in a better headspace. So, today's subject, again, it might be a little touchy from some of you guys. It kind of something that happened to me when I was still with my ex-husband. Um, and this story, I wasn't in California anymore. I was in Las Vegas now because I was trying to start fresh. I felt like California was just too dark for me. I went through a lot of stuff in my hometown, including what I went through with my ex-husband and with my mom. And I wanted a fresh start. So I moved to Las Vegas, and there was a church that was like 2 houses down from us. Like every Sunday, we could hear them over there, hear their songs, hear their worship, and it was nice. And we decided we were going to go and visit the church. Me, my ex, and we brought our kids. They were still really young. Like I think my oldest at the time was maybe 5 or 6. And like many churches, when we got there, we kind of got the pressure to, join, stand up, everyone, tell us your name. Do you have a church home? That's the first thing they would ask. Do you have a church home? If you do not have a church home, they will definitely tell you, well, did you make this your church home while you have all eyes on you? So if you're the type of person that's not really big on confrontation or, whatever, you're going to stand up and say, okay, yeah, I want this to be my church home, even though you may want to shop around. Um, Advice, if that ever happens to you guys, don't feel pressured. Just shop around. You don't have to say yes. But at that time, I was still young, and my ex actually was the one that was like, yes, I want to try. I want to join. Um, I just kind of always had a bad, touchy feeling about churches because I'm a pastor's daughter, and the history with me and how my father manipulated he abused my mom. I had issues with the church. They'll say that. And so I didn't really feel right about joining at that time, but my ex wanted to join, so I followed along, with our babies. As expected, we were in church all day, from 7, 8 in the morning to sometimes 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way up to 2, 3 in the morning the next day. Excuse me, I'm sorry. uh, I did everything I could to conform to the role that they assigned me. It was constant programming. And I went to everything. I sat where they told me to. I did what was expected of me. Meanwhile, I'm still being abused at home. And I needed help. I needed help badly. I did just as I was taught to do when I was growing up. Go to my pastor, go to my first lady. Hey, you guys, I'm going through this with my husband. He's abusing me. I told him everything about his abuse, his cheating on me, him isolating me from my family, not allowing me to work. And their solution was to go to couples therapy through the church with the pastor. I followed every direction. I did everything that they told me to, but I felt like I was being silenced. I was told what my role should be as a wife, as a woman, as a mother, and somehow his abuse became my fault. If you were doing this better, if you weren't doing that more, if you did this, if you that, he would probably be better and step up as a man. A man can't be ahead of his home when the woman is trying to this and when the woman is trying to that. Like, it became my fault. And one day, someone from our church showed up to the house unannounced, and it was messy. It was. I'm not gonna lie. I was severely depressed. I had been with this man since I was 16, and now I'm in my 20s, my early to mid 20s, and I'm depressed. I wasn't even able to, like, I was cooking every day. I was barely hanging on. And I tried to explain, like, I'm not lazy. I'm just broken. I need help. But, they didn't want to hear me. He wouldn't let me work. I was isolated. I was hopeless. And they didn't listen to me. They judged me. Then, so next Sunday came, and we'd been in church since like about 7 o'clock in the morning. And it was probably around 2. And I just wanted to go home. I was tired. My kids were tired. We wanted to go home. But just before the service ended, my ex claimed that the Spirit moved him. So he stood up to testify. And he's crying about wanting a happy family, and, that he wanted his kids and his wife to have everything. And, he just kind of did this big old sob story about how he wanted to have this perfect life, but never once held himself accountable for why our lives was the way it was. Just like, I know we could do better with the help of God, which was, okay, I get that. But, you have to do your part. And he wasn't trying to. So the pastor comes off of the pulpit and he hugs him. And then he calls me and my kids up to stand next to him. You stand here, you support your man, you stand by your man. Then he stood there and started to humiliate me. I was told, this is a man of God. This is a man of God. This is what a man of God looks like. The pastor said that I needed to be a better wife and a better mother. And that I was almost there. But I nagged. And then I was lazy. And then he quoted Proverbs 21:9. You guys who are in church, you Christian family, this verse. It's better to stay outside on a leaky rooftop of your house than to live inside with a nagging wife. He said that to me. And to this day, I cannot stand that verse. I can't. I cried so hard. Everyone thought I was getting the Spirit on me, but the pastor knew what he was doing. My oldest son, he understood what was happening to him. He just held me and he looked at me. He said, "It's okay, Mama. It's okay. It's okay." The pastor tried to backtrack a little bit, but the damage was done. It's like, no. And then after church, my ex was going to go break up with his side chick because, yes, he had a mistress this whole time, you guys. And the pastor knew about this. And he took whatever little money that I had, and he bought a big old bottle of Crown Royal. And it was like, I'm going to go over to her house and I'm going to just take a shot with her, and then I'm just going to end things with her. And I'm just like, if you want to be with her, be with her. But if you're going to be with your family, then you don't need to go over there and have a drink with her to do that. So I take the bottle of Crown Royal and I go to the pastor at the church, because this was the same day they were still there. And I'm telling him, like, see, this is what he's going to do. Why would he need to buy liquor? Like, first off, what man of God gets drunk? Secondly, he's going to take this to his side chick. He took money from our family to go spend on her. He said he was going to give her this whole bottle. So he takes the bottle, puts it in his drawer, because my ex was with me when that happened. And he told me to leave. He told me to leave. He was like, I'll deal with this. And I left. And I was just like, really? So, and it was never brought up again. It was never brought up again. I don't know what happened to the bottle. I don't know what he said to him, but they acted like it never happened. And I was still being abused after this. It didn't stop anything that was going on in my home. So it was like, okay, what the hell is going on in here? Like, I was already iffy about going to church in the first place because of what I had gone through with my family, my birth family, with my mother being molested by my father, my grandmother, and my father doing whatever they were doing, and everyone hiding everything from us. And all this was happening in the church. So this didn't help. So I was just like, okay, so I remember feeling like, maybe this is my fault. I must be a real horrible mother and a real horrible wife for this to be happening to me. I felt like even the church thinks that I am unworthy. Even the Lord thinks I am unworthy. And then I remember always, this is when I've had to deal with a lot. No one's ever going to believe me. No one is ever going to believe me, no matter what I say. I felt like I was alone. I am alone and no one is coming to save me, that I don't even matter to God. My pain is invisible and I am just being punished. I always felt like I was being punished. Like whatever I did, I am sorry, please. And then finally, if the church can't help me, then what hope do I have? So here's my question for you. Have you ever reached out for help, especially in a place that was supposed to offer safety and healing, only to be blamed, silenced, or re-traumatized? And if you have, what did that experience teach you about who you can trust and how you view yourself? Because like at the time, I wanted to just die. I felt like my life wasn't worth living. I was done. I said, "Oh my God, this, if it wasn't for my babies and knowing that they would have been stuck with this man as a father, I probably would have tried to attempt. Well, I had attempted to take my life, but at that point, I was like, I'm not leaving my children with him, especially with the daughter, knowing what type of man he was. So here, I had to reframe my thoughts. I did. I had to let myself know that it was not my fault. It was not my fault. I was doing the best I could with what I had in a place that failed to protect me. That it was their inability to support me, and that their inability to support me was not a reflection of my worth. It was a reflection of their ignorance and their bias. So I'm going to say that again. That was not my fault. I was doing the best I could with what I had, and they failed to protect me. Their inability to support me was not a reflection of my worth, but it was a reflection of their ignorance and their bias. Okay? Excuse me, you guys. I'm going to step out of the camera for a second. Clean my, I'm telling y'all I'm sick, so just work with me. I don't want to gross anyone out. Sorry. Ugh. So my affirmation is, I am not what they said I was. I'm not. I'm not lazy. I'm not a bad mother. And I know I'm not a bad wife. I know I'm not a bad mother, because I did everything. So I know I'm not what they said I was. I am resilient. I am worthy of safety, truth, and unconditional love. You hear that? I am worthy of safety, truth, and unconditional love. I trust my voice. I trust my voice. Even when others try to silence me, I trust my voice. So here is a mini session or a coping skill, okay? Today's tool is a sanctuary check-in. When spiritual or cultural spaces harm you instead of heal you, it's important to create your own internal sanctuary. You find a quiet space to lie or sit, and you close your eyes. Inhale slowly for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And exhale for 6 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you repeat that 3 times. Okay? And picture a space where you feel completely safe. This could be a room, a garden, a beach, or a memory, something. And when you're laying or sitting there with your eyes closed, you picture a space where you felt the most safe. And you speak gently to yourself in that space that I am safe here. I decide what belongs in my spirit, and I release what tried to break it. I'm going to say that again. I am safe here. I decide what belongs in my spirit, and I release what tried to break it, no matter what it was, okay? Because no matter what your title is in any type of atmosphere, whether it's a work atmosphere, a religious atmosphere, a household atmosphere, no one has the right to silence or break you or to shame you for being abused, ever. And then when you're ready, you open your eyes and you journal what came up, like what feelings came up, including names, messages, or feelings that you need to release. Kind of journal about that, because you deserve to create your own sanctuary. You deserve to create a sanctuary where your pain is heard and your healing is honored. So here's our empowerment challenge. Are you guys ready for the empowerment challenge? Oh my God, you guys, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to be as chipper as I can. Today, I challenge you to rewrite one false narrative that someone forced on you in a place of worship or tradition. So it doesn't have to be a church, whatever your tradition is, whatever someone forced on you to say that this is how the type of person that you should be in you need to rewrite that false narrative. Mine was I need to be a wife who submits fully to my husband when no, I don't need to submit fully to a man who is being abusive to me. We are supposed to submit to each other. So, that is a false narrative. Write it down, cross it out boldly, and replace it with the truth. I was never the problem. I am powerful, even when others refuse to see it. And to take a picture of it or just hold it and let that truth ground you today. That is your challenge. That is your challenge. So next we're going to talk about our spotlight survivor, our survivor spotlight. I'm sorry. His name is Kevin Berthea. Mr. Kevin Berthea. Mr. Kevin, he lived for years in a fog of depression that no one saw. He was a young black man who was taught that he needed to be strong, to keep quiet, and to tough it out. So he had things forced on him because of his role or his title. But inside, he was crumbling. He was crumbling inside. He struggled with suicidal thoughts from his teens, and it got worse and worse and worse with the unresolved family trauma, the financial pressures, and the stigma around mental illness in the black community. So in 2005, he found himself standing on the edge of the Golden Gate Bridge, and Kevin was ready to take his life. He was ready to jump. But what happened next? What happened next was just a simple conversation. A police officer named Kevin Briggs spoke with him for over an hour. He was just kind of listening to him without judgment. Okay, without judgment, he was listening. That moment of human connection pulled Kevin back from that bridge. Kevin Berthea, I'm sorry, pulled him back from the edge of that bridge, literally and figuratively. And since then, Kevin has become a powerful mental health advocate, speaking across the country to raise awareness about suicide prevention, especially for black men. He shares his story to break the silence and to remind others that his pain doesn't make you that pain, I'm sorry, that pain, his pain either, doesn't make anyone weak. It didn't make him weak, it doesn't make you weak. And asking for help can save your life. Asking for the right help can save your life. So Mr. Kevin Berthea, the one who stepped back from the edge and turned his second chance into a mission, who uses his voice to cut through stigma and silence, offering raw truth and deep hope to those who feel unseen, who reminds us that one conversation can be different, the difference between life and death. Mr. Kevin Berthea, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So if today's story spoke to you or even shook you, just pause, breathe, and remember, you are not alone. Healing from spiritual abuse is messy, but it is also real, and it's yours. Share this challenge with someone. Share it with anyone who needs to know that you're not crazy, that you're finally telling the truth. Leave a comment or a message if today's message resonates with you. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel, Empowered Voices Fighting Strength Survivors, to hear more about this challenge, my podcast, Insights of a Survivor, and on Thursday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can hear some of the most wonderful stories and awesome advice from Miss Cassandra Coach Kiss Williams. So if you want to join a healing community, please like, share, subscribe, and make sure that everyone has an opportunity to see what healing really looks like. So I will see you tomorrow for day 9. Your story doesn't end with pain. It begins with what, you guys? I'm going to say this every day. For 365 days, you're going to hear me say, your story doesn't end in pain. It begins in power. I love you guys. Stay strong.